I now call upon Dr. Shalini to please start the proceeding for today.
Yes, before that, ma'am, before that, I would like to call upon Dr. M. Kavita, Professor, Head of the Department, Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics, Tamil Nadu Government Dental College, Chennai, to introduce the speaker and moderate the first session. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Am I audible, Raj?
Yes, ma'am, very much. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I like to congratulate SRM team and IACDE for this unique faculty development program training, that is training the trainers. It is my proud privilege to introduce the first speaker of this program, Dr. Shalini Aggarwal. Dr. Shalini Aggarwal has 24 years of experience as an endodontist and restorative dentist. She has been a consultant with several leading practitioners in and around Pune. In addition to being an astute clinician, she is a professor at the Dr.D.Y.Patil Dental College and been a postgraduate teacher since 2003. She is the coordinator of the dental education unit at her college and loves to develop and introduce innovations that enhance teaching learning processes. She has several research papers to her credit and has been a lead investigator in a clinical trial. She is actively involved in research and has successfully directed several postgraduate students and PhD scholars. She is routinely asked to speak at national and international conferences. She is also a sought-after moderator. Over to you, Dr. Shalini, on a topic, student-mentor relationship.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kavita, for that introduction. Thank you so much, Dr. Mahalakshmi, for assigning me a difficult task as usual. Like I said to her a few minutes back before this started, that it's impossible to decide whether you want to love her or hate her. And now that I know that it was Dr. Rajkumar who was behind this, so I have one more culprit in the mix. And thank you, IACDE, for doing this and SRM for taking this wonderful initiative. Just to tell you how wrong a mentor relationship can go, this is an example which Dr. Mahalakshmi...
Shalini, you have to share your screen.
Yes, ma'am, I'll just start that.
Oh, okay. I thought you said this.
I'm still complaining about you.
Okay, okay.
So this is an example of how things can go wrong between a mentor and a mentee. That you start with the topic at some other end and then suddenly you're told that, no, this is not what you were supposed to present. Luckily, I have saved messages and shared screenshots with her. So I'm in the clear. Okay, so carrying on to my presentation, I'm so happy to have all of you here. And can you see my presentation? Ma'am?
Not
No,
yet.
no.
They
No.
started sharing, but
Yeah, it will come some online issue.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. It's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you know, my topic is the student-mentor relationship, and just trying to get this. So I would like to start this with showing you a video. It's a very cute video. I will share my thoughts about this video once you have seen it. Okay, so when I saw this video, just like a lot of others with whom this was shared, I was thinking that this is such a cute video. The child is so adorable. And then when I thought about it more, what jumped out at me was the indignation of the child, the perception she had of the teacher, the reinforcement of the teacher's wrongdoing, which is being done by the mother. And it also hit me that, was the teacher in the wrong over here? What did the teacher ultimately say? The teacher must have said, Everybody needs to settle down. This is something that we say to our students all the time. Settle down, stop talking, pay attention. So how wrong was the teacher here? I don't think the teacher must have been wrong, but look at the perception, look at the indignation, look at the rituousness with which she is addressing the problem. Not only that, she knows that it is wrong on the teacher's part to scold. So she has immediately clarified that it was not me that the teacher scolded, it was somebody else. So these are parts of the perception. This is what we are dealing with. This is a child who is not even 3 as yet, but look at her strong perceptions and look at her indignation about what happened to her classmate. This is what we deal with. We might not realize it. Our students might not be vocal about it, but this is what we are dealing with. So that is why I thought I'll put this video here, that beyond the cuteness of the video, this is the inherent problem that we have to deal with when we are talking about a mentor relationship. So one thing that happens with us all the time is that we keep saying that children is how we address the children. The lady who teaches education in my university, she pointed this out to me, that you refer to them as beta, child. And she said, don't do that. You will completely not remember the fact that you are actually, what you're doing is a form of adult education. We have to accept the fact that we are actually dealing with adults. Here, we are dealing with individuals who are actually, they are actually voting at 18 years of age. That is when they come to us in the first year. They are also able to drive vehicles at the age of 18. So please keep that in mind, that, you know, we don't, we are not dealing with children, we are actually dealing with adults. They fall in the realm of children in terms of their age disparity with us, but they are actually adults. Here on the screen, I have put up some principles which are used in Alcoholics Anonymous. So if you are doing an introspection today, and I hope you are, because of which you have joined this FDP, you need to accept the fact that, you know, probably we are doing some things which are wrong, some things which are correct. Ma'am, I just need. So once we are into a mode of introspection, please do not self-flagellate, do not blame yourself. Just remember that it is changing times. Like Dr. Mahalakshmi was telling us, she finished her post-graduation in 1986. That is when most of us did not even, we were nowhere in the universe. Of course, I can't claim that about myself, but yes, most of you who are probably attending this were nowhere on the scene at all. So things have changed so diametrically from then to now that we need to accept this. We need to have hope and faith and use immense amount of willpower and courage and honesty to deal with everything. So although these are principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, let us make them principles for Good Teachers Anonymous. And I just wanted to say that some personal touches could be going wrong if you are not able to connect with the students. It could simply be because of some few tiny things, like maybe the body language could be challenging, it could be aggressive, or the tenor and pitch of speech could be different. As you well know that after having been teachers for a very long time, we develop some characteristics, and the pitches of a voices go up. This is actually a phenomenon which has been identified as a teacher's voice. We tend to be a little ambiguous and assume that a lot of things are known, whereas they could be not known to the students. For example, it's very, very common for me to walk into a restaurant or a hotel, and when the menu is handed to me, I unnecessarily start poking at things which have been misspelled or which are in my brain not classified right, that this dish does not belong here. So it just happens all the time, all the time. We cannot get rid of being a teacher. It's like ma'am was saying, once you start learning, you're always learning. So also once you start teaching, you always are a teacher. But then we should remember that maybe instead of being critical all the time, we should, you know, temper that down and maybe start participating in what the learner wants to actually learn from us. Another example here at this point I would give is the wedding invitation card in the soft format. There students, one of the students just told me where to come and all. And I mean, why I was the only one who didn't get a card. So he told me later on that, ma'am, there was a spelling mistake. I knew it would bug you, so I didn't send it to you. So these are just things which get incorporated in our daily lives, and we don't realize it, but we become total teachers, not in the best way, maybe with a little touches of negativity. So that is one thing we should look at and evaluate. A very good way of doing this, at least in our own colleges, is something which is known as micro teaching. So you can have micro teaching sessions, which are essentially for the teachers. It eliminates these bad habits which we have inadvertently cultivated over a long period of time. To the people who are listening this as beginners in the academics, this is something you should watch out for. And it is always very good to get a negative feedback from your colleagues, because it helps you to remove all these bugs, as I would say, in your system. The other thing is that this was something who is paid to talk. This is something that I was asked by, one of my teachers, who just got very annoyed by the fact that I'm talking a lot in the class and probably interrupting her flow of thought. And she just got very annoyed and said, who is paid to talk? So that is right. As teachers, it is we who are paid to talk. As trainers, it is we who are paid to talk. But the thing is that if what we are talking is not the kind of thing which is actually meant to be spoken, it's not correct. It is just not correct. For example, I would say that there are some terms which are so ambiguous. For example, MID. Inadvertently, most of us use this term interchangeably between minimum intervention dentistry and minimally invasive dentistry, not knowing that one is a part of the other. We start using terms, they become a part of the lore, and then it's very difficult to overcome that. And when a student walks up to you and tells you that, no, it is actually MID is minimum intervention dentistry and minimally invasive dentistry is just a part of it, you might not like it so much. But that is acceptance. That is knowing that maybe you don't know everything. Maybe there is something which the student has just read and is informing you. Another common example over here I would really like to tell you is the sprue channel former. A very wise colleague of mine who I really look up to, Dr. Vinita, we were doing an exam together, and she pointed out that everybody calls it a sprue former, or just a sprue, but actually it is a sprue channel former. When did we forget this? When did we not know? When did we stop making this distinction? And yet it is us who are paid to talk. Also, something like setting a question paper. This is there in the FDP, and I will not dwell too much over it. But for example, fillers. When you set a short answer question, because you are the one who's being paid to do that, you just write short answer question and you just write one word there, fillers. Now, if the student has written about derma fillers, what happens here? That the teachers, they, make a big, it becomes a laughing point and people start laughing, oh, derma fillers, God knows what he's going to do in the clinics. But derma fillers are a part of dental materials textbooks nowadays. Why is the student wrong? You have not specified that which kind of filler is to be used, whether it is a filler from composite resins or whether it is a filler for the skin. So the student is right. You have to give the marks there. Another example of improper speaking is when in a question paper there is a spelling mistake, like it was recently in one of our exams, is that explain the betting of Simmons. Even the students knew that the teacher was talking about setting of students, but the students made it a point to bring it to the attention of the teachers that you have set a wrong question paper. So things like this can just be avoided if we make ourselves to the fact that we do not know everything. Yes, we are paid to talk, but yes, we are paid to talk correctly. So this is very, very important. Another thing I would like to say is there are a few things that we take for granted. The moment a MDA student takes admission, we assume that they just know everything. So they might know everything. They might know how to set up a good gaming session. They might know the best things happening on Netflix. but they might not know what a journal is. They certainly wouldn't know what a scientific article is. There are certain IDs. So I find students who come in, they have an email ID, but the email IDs will be very funny, like Raj for you, love you forever @gmail.com. And then they're stuck with these email IDs for a lifetime. So you need to educate them about very silly, small things like this. We give them seminars or something to do, but do they know how to make a PPT presentation? They might not know about it at all. And then we throw the ball at them, saying that, okay, start running because you have a synopsis to submit in another 6 months. There is a conference which is coming up. You have to attend it. Just don't attend it. Present an e-poster. There are papers to be done. So I'm just saying that, why are we assuming this? Why can we not assume that they do not know this? What do you know this? Do you know this? And use the buddy system here. You can use the entire units very gainfully over here. It will smoothen out the ruffles. The seniors in the unit can help them to surmount the PPTs. They will do it any which way. They will approach their seniors for help. But if you put yourself in the mix, then it helps the student to understand that my teacher knows I do not know this, and the teacher is willing to help to teach me this. Even filling out a simple membership form can be a challenge, and especially because a volume of money is involved there. Or even registering for a conference, we don't pay enough attention to the fact how the registration is being done. They don't know how to upload photographs. Some silly photographs get uploaded. Like in our case, one PG student uploaded the payment receipt. She did not realize that it was going to be a part of the attendance certificate and would probably be on the ID that she would be wearing in the conference. Such things can act as a tripping point. It is a good time to, stand up and take notice of these things and maybe eliminate the variables. So I would say, please inculcate, do not assume. And also remember that the MDS is a 3-year program.
Shalini, can you just shift the tilt a bit towards this thing? Your face is not visible properly.
Now, ma'am?
No. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's okay for you. Presenting is not a problem, no?
Okay. The next would be selection of a thesis topic. So here, one of the things that, which you absolutely have to do is follow the breadcrumbs or follow the expectations. Where are the breadcrumbs leading you? What is the student what is the expectation of the student from the 3-year program? At this point, I would also like to mention this is a very valid thing for PhD students as well. The students who take up their doctoral thesis should also know, you should know from them what are their expectations. There have to be budgets which have to be considered before you allot a study which probably could run into thousands of rupees. The student needs to be aware. Let this not become a stumbling block later on. Be very conscientious in this approach. Remember that whatever facilities you are employing for that research study should be easily available to the student. Ask the student in one of the first meetings about what it is that their expectations are from this particular program. Do they want to become academicians, do good research, lot of research, or is research just going to be a part of their MDS program? Is it only the clinical skills that they want to enhance? And also remember at this point that the students are on a high. They are on the high of having scored well in NEET and having come into your institute. So avoid that high, and it is very important for us not to go on that high and set impossible tasks wherein you require machinery for which the student will have to spend a lot or probably travel to several places. Inevitably, this will have an effect on the performance of the student in the department. Also remember that just as we have preset notions about everything, so do the students. They come in with several preset notions about what they want to do. Some could be very achievable, some are within the realm of the program, some could be ones which would probably seem impossible. Nonetheless, listen to them and probably steer them away from there and put them on the right path, or maybe water down their expectations and then go from there. So these are good things to keep in mind. One thing which helps is to deconstruct the program. Deconstruct as in give a very good idea to the students about what is expected from them. Do this at the MDS, BDS level both, and tell them how many terms they are supposed to be there. At the end of how many terms do they have exams? As in the case of MDS, we now have exams at the end of first year and third year. So they need to divide their time wisely accordingly. Remember that SOPs are very, very good. It helps to eliminate variables. And if you create a timeline saying that in the next 3 months, you need to finish your preclinics. After that, you need to be ready to submit your synopsis. In between all this, you are required to do didactic activities. You are also required to maybe present a poster or a paper at a conference, and then discuss your expectations of the student, and also their expectations from the program and from you in particular. Discuss the syllabi at length. This is not something we do often enough. Most of the students do not realize what a vast syllabus it is. They don't know how to divide the syllabus, what is to be read in the first year, and what they can save for the second and the third year. Some topics just have to be read from the get-go. So it is a good thing to create a timeline for all this. Hence, deconstruct the program, present it to them in little bits so that they know that these are the expectations. And always remember, when I say eliminate the variables, it is like it is like at the airport when we deboard and there is no connecting port directly to the airport. We have to use a vehicle, and this vehicle takes a defined route. It goes at right angles. You will never find the vehicle following a hypotenuse or using a curvy path. The reason that they do this is to make sure that there are no collisions. It is to make sure that there are no untoward incidents. So thereby they have eliminated all the variables. So do this, the variables, once they're eliminated, it helps you to progress with the teaching program. When you create a timeline, it is very important that, the goals and motivations, the goals are clearly defined, because then the goals start acting as motivations. One is to achieve them, and one is when they're achieved, they act as superb motivations. It is just like when you're climbing a hill, and when you look up, oh, there is that point where I have to reach. But when you look down, you actually see this is what I have, this is the distance that I've walked, this is what I have achieved. So creating goals and motivations, creating motivations acts like a huge goal. So you need to do that. Respect the timeline. We as teachers sometimes don't respect the timeline ourselves. If we set a timeline or a timetable, we don't respect it ourselves. So we need to do it as well. If we create one for them, we need to do it ourselves. A little more about timetables and timelines. Like I said, we need to stick to it ourselves. Creating a timeline for a student will help to make it a personalized calendar. We all have academic calendars. Use this as the basic skeleton, and then fill it in with the various activities of the department, the didactic activities, the presentations which need to be which need to be done. Put all these. And leave room for exigencies and emergencies. Remember that some things suddenly might acquire an urgent overtone, and these need to be done immediately. There could be some emergencies both on your part and on the part of the student as well. So leave room for these, understand them. Expect the student to understand your emergencies, and in turn understand the emergencies of the student, and let go of the timeline if it is so desired. One thing that we keep is the concept of student diversity. So when we talk about student diversity, we are essentially talking about the learning capacity of the students. Some of the ranking systems, when they talk about student diversity, they're actually talking about from which part of the country do they belong to? But actually in teaching and learning, the student diversity is talking about the intelligence quotient of the student, how is the student absorb the program, how is the student performing in that program. Here, I would like to say that it is also important that you have to take into consideration what are the different educational boards from which the students are coming. This is particularly important when we are dealing with first BDS students, because they come from boards like ICSE, CBSE, and IB, the most common ones now. And we have to remember that they already have done a lot of participatory learning, a lot of self-directed learning. A lot of the people who are going to be talking in this FDPs are people who have grown-up children now, and there are some who are even grandmothers now. So I just have to say that knowing that these various boards are teaching in various ways in which participatory learning is so important, why is it that we do not feel the need to address the students in the same way? We push them back into the mode of the chalk and talk method. And actually, it is not really necessary. Our syllabus is expanded and it is giving us more room to do a lot of things. So take this into account, address the student diversity over there. In fact, at this point, I can tell you that I attended something which is known as a model UN, in which students from my college were also participating. And the topic was sale of over-the-counter drugs. And there were students who were from Kendra Vidyalaya under the CBSE board, and they were just 11 standard students. They wiped the floor with each and every students. They were students from medical colleges, they were students from AFMC, my own college. And these 11 standard students were able to wipe the floor with everybody. So things are happening at a very different level. If you have ever attended something called a model UN, or have seen your own children preparing for them, or your cousins or your nephews, nieces, whatever, you will realize that teaching is being done very differently to the 12th. And then we put them on a totally different path when they come to us in the first year of BDS, and a totally different path when they are in the first year of MDS. So we have to relate to the fact that they study differently, and we need to teach them accordingly. Another thing that we overlook often, particularly when we are dealing with a very large number of students, is that as important as the intelligence quotient is, there also exists something which is an emotional quotient. This is going to differ from student to student. These are simply not personality traits. They are something which get ingrained in the student, and they could be arising from home conditions. They could be arising from peer conditions where the student is interacting in a different way with their peers, their seniors, their juniors. And more and more in our country, we are seeing the entire spectrum of families where we have single unit families, more and more of these. We have single child families, a lot more of these, joint families, fewer of these. And we now have separated families, so to say, where the parents are doing shared rearing of the child, but not actually living together. And so we need to take all this into account. And if, like I said before, in our timeline, we need to create space for exigencies and emergencies. This plays an important role. And it is something we just have to make leeway for. We cannot say that this doesn't exist, rise above it, go beyond it. We have to see those things, but at the apt moment. But we cannot dismiss these things, that these actually make an impact on the student's performance. And even this, just like the loss of a beloved pet, can immensely affect the student. So that is something that you need to take into account and address the problem accordingly. So a good idea to be teaching well is to innovate all the time. And this is becoming easier because just like this FDP, there are other FDPs that we are constantly attending. We are, I'm sure most of you have already done it or would be on the way to doing it. We learn the medical education technology. So it is a good way to learn new things and then to apply them. In my opinion, experiential learning is very important. This is learning which is a wholesome kind of learning, not a holistic learning, but a wholesome kind of learning. For example, you would rather learn, it would be easier for you to learn about animals by visiting the zoo than watching a slideshow or a PPT about it. So this is experiential learning, very easy to do in our clinical setup. So we can do this a lot. Another thing is that we need to decompartmentalize our teaching. Right from first year of BDS, we compartmentalize very tightly all the teaching groups. So we have clinical and non-clinical. Then we have within clinical, we'll have say conservative, we'll have oral surgery, we'll have perio. So we need to teach the students that everything is interconnected. The more we decompartmentalize, the more effective will be our teaching. Increase in the amount of multi-departmental activities will help this decompartmentalization better. So in our institute, the things that have worked for us largely because we are doing a lot of teaching, which is small group teaching or student-centric teaching, as it is called, is problem-based learning. Like Mahalakshmi ma'am was saying, that we are now using it more. It was used a lot in the medical college. So we have just gone ahead and stolen from them and kind of incorporated it into our teaching systems. We do this in the clinics and we do it regularly. I am not going to talk too much upon this because the topics would just, coalesce otherwise. And I'm sure Dr. Kritika will be talking about this in her presentation on Mila. We do role plays a lot in the college, and the naughty ones will smile at this probably, but role play is a very effective way of getting your point across and teaching. It is a good self-directed way of teaching. Project-based learning is happening a lot, especially because the ICMR has come out with a lot of STS grants now. So project-based learnings are happening both at the undergraduate and the postgraduate levels. An increase in the interdisciplinary activities, like I said before, is helping to break down the syllabus and is helping to break down the barriers and coalesce the syllabus so that the students know what is what. We did Jamboard sessions, which I'll be showing you and talking about a little bit more. The buddy system, I'm sure a lot of you know, and it is done very easily in the MDS program because there'd be an automatic unit of the first year, second year, and the third year MDS student forms. The buddy system can also be worked upon in the clinical setup, in the clinic especially, where you can have a third year, fourth year intern and a postgraduate student, working together, teaching the seniors, teaching the juniors. And the guided teaching, which is done via tutorials in our college, is also receiving a very good response. So I would just like to show you an example of a role play which students did in our college. And I'm just going to reduce the volume a little bit so that you can hear my voice. Here, these students have, what we did was, we gave the students a brief instruction about caries. So we had PG students do that. A few teachers, a teacher from the Department of Periodontics was involved, as was a teacher from the Department of Oral Pathology. We gave a brief overview of caries and how we expected them to break it down. And here, what these ladies are doing is what is happening here. The bacteria is attacking the tooth, supposedly the sound tooth, and then they are discussing what is happening with the various layers. They have discussed the layers over here, and the various layers are being discussed. I just wanted to show you the final part of this. So they are just discussing each layer. If you could just look at that, and they're talking about, in fact, and within this program, we also had a very good heated debate about infected dentine versus affected dentine. And the students carried that also very well. And here that this lady at the back over here, you can see she's wearing a crown. She's supposedly the dental pulp who has to be protected at any cost. And this is what the various layers are attempting to do. So in here over here, the only thing which we provided the student was the split up of the topic, and whatever they needed, whatever props they needed, they would make it themselves and submit the bill to us. The bills were not too large, and it was very effective, and they just use the material which is there with the Students' Council for the various decorating activities which happen in all our institutes. And so they explained all the layers, and then in the end, they will tell you how the layers are connected. The fallout from this lecture was that it worked so well. The Department of Oral Pathology then just had to concentrate on the histopathology. The Department of Periodontics is just concentrating on caries, which affects the children. And we are, the Department of Conservative Dentistry is concentrating by and large on the treatment and management of these caries. So as you can see, these are the final layers. This is how they built it up. And this inside over here is the pulp, and this being protected by the layers. Such kind of activities raises the amount of confidence that the students have a lot. So doing these role plays can be very intensive, and it is a lot of hard work for the trainers themselves. In no way should you be fooled into thinking that having the students come and speak will mean that you don't have to talk so much. It is not the case at all. We just have to work as hard, but the results are going to be so obvious. And before the role play, I had circulated a Google form asking them to answer a few basic questions on caries. And then after the role play also, we circulated a Google form with a little more advanced questions in caries and repeated the previous questions as well. And the result was so heartening. The way the students have answered was very good. And at the end of each role play session, the students who have presented that particular portion have asked questions to the students who are observing. So the whole class gets involved, many departments get involved, and a lot of topics get covered. We are also covering tumors like this. We'll be covering various lesions, dental jurisprudence, tobacco cessation activities. They all are covered under the role play activity. We are hitting about 25 to 30% of teaching in these kind of modalities, and we hope to increase it in our college up to at least 70 or 80% in the coming academic year. There are several other things that we do, but this worked well, so I showed you this. Another example that I would like to show you is this. This is called a Jamboard, and I will just share my screen again. Kavita, is my screen visible? The new one?
Yes, visible.
Okay, so this is something which is known as a Jamboard. You can do this very easily. Here we use the Jamboard to present a JRC. And as you can see, it is the Jamboard is created, and these comments are put up by the other students. So it works very well. So this over here in the first slide is a critique of the article. Why was the article selected? What were the pros and cons? Several sticky notes appeared over here, which was very heartening. And then the basic questions that the article addresses, and what are the supplemental reading that has to be done. So this is part of the supplemental reading. These questions were put up by the presenter much before the presentation. The sticky notes that you can see at the bottom here is the input from the teachers, from the other teachers, saying that this also needs to be read. And then these were the sticky notes are the questions which are coming from the people who are actually attending this. And just notes can be put up like this. And since this is an online interactive thing, the sticky notes can keep coming. They'll keep coming throughout the presentation. So it becomes an actual discussion, and the presenter can actually start answering those questions, or in turn ask questions to the people who are attending. From the references at the back of the article, all the students were required to put up one article and talk about it. So these are the headings of the articles which the students have chosen, and they have put it up over here. And then you can just wrap up the entire journal club session by further directing it towards further reading. And what have you learned from this particular JRC? And so it becomes a interactive thing again, that every student can put up what is the thing that they have learned from this particular article. Just going back to my PPT again.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, the screen is visible.
Is it full screen, Kavita?
No, make it into full. Yeah, now it's okay, fine.
Okay. So this was the Jamboard session, and after this, I would just like to conclude my session with saying that somebody is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. So be the planter today and also enjoy the shade which is provided by teachers who came ahead of us. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini. That was a very clear, nice, enlightening presentation about a much sought after topic in today's scenario.
Thank you.
I think mentoring is not only professional relationship, it is also a personal relationship, no?
Yes.
Building a personal relationship with the students. Can you tell something about some markers that is, it is positive and healthy between the mentor and student, the relationship, how to find out whether it is a healthy and a positive relationship?
Okay, so some active markers which can happen are the immediate feedback which you're getting from the student. Also, if the student is coming to you for all kinds of problems, so if the student is coming to me that for a very silly thing, like, I am not able to get this video onto the PPT, and the student is approaching you. So it is probably a good thing. The student feels there is no fear factor involved. There is no sense of hesitation. That is a good marking point. If the student is approaching you for any further reading, that I'm not able to understand this. And in my opinion, the biggest one, and I'm not, we have experienced this with some students who are, who try to overstep the mark. But in my opinion, the mark of a good teacher is where the student can also tell you that probably what you're saying is not correct. For example, there was a case in which one of the teachers in my college kept insisting that the canine erupts at a particular date, not having taken into consideration that now the canine eruption dates are probably changing, and also having a very gender specific time. So there was a big argument between the teacher and the student, But I would have taken it the other way. I would have asked, where did you read it from? Can you share the text? So these are very small. I think that if the student is able to approach you for silly small things and also point out if you are maybe not correct, then I think it's a good marker.
Yeah, correct. Competent mentors should have emotionally accessible factor also.
Yes.
That the effective mentoring depends on the maturity level of the teachers that is there.
And
also,
this is something that students have always been doing. It's like the video which I was showing you in the beginning, that maybe that day the teacher's body language was not correct. Maybe she was having a frown on her face when she said, teacher, settle down. And how many times is that, even we have done it when we were students, that we have just walked out of a class and said, maybe ma'am did not eat breakfast today, or maybe she had a fight at home. We've said that as well. So it is not only the student's emotional quotient, it is our emotional quotient also which reflects.
Correct.
And we probably affect more people because we are teaching a broader class.
we shouldn't bring our emotional needs to the mentees.
Yes,
That is very important. Okay. Whatever they are telling, we have to listen to them, their perspective also. That is very important. Very nice, very nice. Thank you. I think any other questions?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The point is that we have, suppose we have different mentors for different students, right? And as the emotional quotient of the students is different, so is the emotional quotient of the teachers. Not everyone are on the same platform. So sometimes the student end up with a, not so good mentor for them.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of, make it more, standardized or objective?
So this is something that, I am currently blessed with a HOD who is very amenable to changes, and I hope you all are too. So this is something which you can, start creating an SOP for. Like I said, there are so many variables. Let's all use the right angle road and not go into any curvy roads. And if we just create SOPs, that some basic things have to be done. For example, when you expect the student to know what is dental caries, you also have to tell the student that this is a standard book or a standard article, and you need to, know this. So even if like you're saying, maybe the mentor is at a I don't know what word to use here, but maybe if the mentor is not so good, as in you said, so maybe the department in general could have a compulsory reading list, for example, in which this happens in a lot of universities, and I give it to several of my students, that these are the various books, however you get them, like in whatever form, illegal, you have to read them. And some articles, for case in point, the articles from endodontic topics, most of them have to read it. And so these are essential reading points. And also, when we have, there have been occasions when the students have expressed displeasure in private, and gone on to point out something. So maybe you could address it with the mentor in a aside format, and just tell them that this is happening. It happens a lot at the BDS levels also now, where we have an active mentor-mentee program. So the mentee might not always be satisfied with the mentor. So if we create an SOP wherein there are checks that if you are not happy with this interaction, approach the next. So if we create a SOP like that, I think it will go a long way in helping the teacher also, and helping the teacher to improve, and also the student to know that there are ways, and it is not a closet, and it's not like how it used to happen in our times, that this is the final word. There are other avenues. So like I said, they come from various educational boards. These avenues are open to them there. Then why do we shut them down? So they should be upward and lateral avenues both. So
yeah, the red flags in a mentor-student relationship we have to watch, I think, madam.
Yes. Sometimes we don't even know them, and we don't even know there are red flags, and we are doing what we think is right. And like I told you, the various steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing is to admit that I am consuming too much, whatever it is that consumption might be. Might be consuming the good, positive things in the student and replacing them with negative things. That is also an acceptance that we need to do. We need to understand that these are their expectations and these are ours. So the red flags sometimes, Kavita, they just
yeah,
they just blow up.
Pop up. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like we cannot find out before itself. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And thank you so much, Dr. Shalini, for that
Ma'am, there is a question from Dr. Neelam Bajaj in the
one question is
one question is popped up.
Yes. Mentees can choose their mentors. Whether mentees can choose their mentors.
So without being too negative about this, but in a way they do. There are some postgraduate students, for example, even just on admission, they do choose whom they want to be guided by. Or it has happened, like I said, if we have a lateral avenue open, then the student can opt to migrate from one mentor to the other. Reasons being left unsaid and at the discretion of the head of the institute as to why the move is being made. But yes, I think that this should be there, because like Kavita said about the red flags, this is a massive red flag. Why do you want to keep mentoring a student who is not being receptive? So it is better to just kind of let it go, I mean, as teachers, we need to understand this. So yes, and Dr.
But
Neelam.
in our country, it is not so prevalent as to have in. I've seen in various countries there is a scope for the student to choose their own mentor.
Yes, ma'am.
So whereas that option of that is not there, like they have it right from the word of admissions. They have a slot where each mentor has this many slots. So as and when you can go and choose your own mentor, and their slot gets filled up. So they'll be in a hurry. In fact, they will go at midnight, 12 o'clock. They'll go in, log in. They will choose, because some mentors are so famous and so approachable,
Yes.
and they feel that he'll be the best. So they'll get locked immediately. So within 5 minutes, they'll get locked.
Yes.
So that choice is given to them in various other universities across the world. But I don't think that option is still available in India. We still have very, very, when we as teachers, now that nobody knows students is around, I can tell it, but we as teachers, we feel offended by each and everything that the students tells us, right?
Yes.
We know that how dare they go against us, or how dare they question us. So that thing has to change. Now, I have come from the time when we couldn't even open our mouth in front of our teachers.
Exactly.
So now where the student is able to come and tell me, no, ma'am, I will not be able to go for the conference because I can't afford it.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That they have come, and we have this thing, we have to accept it. So that is what.
This is exactly what I was trying to imply, that it is not just the topic, it is also the budget. We have to consider that, that if we're asking them to be members of a association and then to attend high priced events, we have to take that into account as well. And like you said very rightly, ma'am, we have to be ready for a negative answer. We have to be prepared for a negatory response, that I can't go, I can't afford this. So I would rather that a student tell me that rather than scrape together the money, go and then curse me for a long time. It's better that we are told that I can't go. So
I think now we'll wind up. Sajiv's thing will be on soon. Thank you so much, Shalini, once again for that wonderful, sharing of your experiences, and Kavita for moderating it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Can we have the certificates quickly, please? So this is for Shalini. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, Dr. Rajkumar.
Yes, Dr. Kavita, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.